Talent starts the race, but discipline finishes it. That's the difference between those who shine for a moment and those who shine forever. Talent may give you speed off the line. It may make the beginning look easy. People might clap for you, call you gifted, praise your natural ability. But the truth is, talent without discipline is a sprint with no endurance. It gets you ahead for a moment, but sooner or later, the real test begins. And when the fatigue sets in, when the road gets longer, when the obstacles get heavier, only discipline has the strength to carry you across the finish line. Talent is like fire. It burns bright but fast. Discipline is like steel. It endures. You see, the start of the race doesn't decide the winner. It's the end that counts. And the end belongs to the one who trained harder, stayed consistent, and refused to quit when the pain hit. Discipline is the fuel that keeps the engine running when talent has run out of gas. Think about it. How many people have you seen with natural gifts? The ones who could pick up a skill instantly, the ones who didn't even have to try. Where are they now? Most of them stopped somewhere along the way. They relied on their head start, but when life pushed back, they didn't have the discipline to keep going. Talent put them in the spotlight, but lack of discipline took them out of the race. Now, think about the ones who weren't the most talented, the ones nobody noticed, the ones who weren't chosen first. They stayed in the game. They practiced longer. They worked harder. They trained when nobody was watching. And over time, they passed up the talented ones, because while talent got comfortable, discipline got stronger. And that's why discipline always wins. It's not about how you start, it's about how you finish. Discipline gives you staying power. It makes sure that when the cheers fade, you're still working. When the motivation is gone, you're still grinding. When the pain comes, you're still moving. Discipline doesn't rely on talent, it relies on willpower. And willpower is what pushes you through the last mile, the final round, the hardest test. Here's the truth. The finish line belongs to the disciplined. Anyone can start strong, but not everyone can finish strong. And finishing strong is what builds legacies. Nobody remembers who led the first lap. They remember who broke the tape at the end. Nobody remembers who had the most talent. They remember who had the most discipline. So if you have talent, don't waste it. Build discipline around it, because talent without discipline will betray you. And if you don't have talent, don't be discouraged. Discipline can carry you further than talent ever could, because in the end, the race doesn't belong to the fastest. It belongs to the one who refuses to stop running. Talent may start the race, but discipline finishes it. And it's the finisher, not the starter, who gets crowned champion. Discipline outlasts motivation. Motivation is like a spark. It flares up quick, burns bright, and dies out just as fast. It feels good in the moment. It gets you excited. It makes you believe you can conquer the world. But when the alarm clock rings at 5 a.m., when your body aches from yesterday's grind, when nobody is clapping for you, that spark is gone. And if you rely only on motivation, you'll quit the moment it disappears. That's why discipline is the true key. Discipline is the fire that keeps burning when motivation has turned to ash. Motivation is emotional. It depends on how you feel. If you feel strong, you work hard. If you feel tired, you rest. If you feel inspired, you show up. If you don't, you make excuses. But discipline doesn't care about feelings. Discipline shows up no matter what. Discipline says, I'll do it whether I feel like it or not. Discipline works through boredom, through pain, through doubt, through silence, and because of that, discipline always outlasts motivation. Every champion, every great achiever understands this truth. They don't wait to feel inspired to act. They act, and the feelings follow. That's the difference. Motivation makes you start, but discipline makes you continue. Motivation says, I want to. Discipline says, I must. And it's the must that carries you forward when everything inside you wants to stop. Think about it. How many times have you felt motivated for a week, a month, maybe even a year, only to stop when things got tough? That's what happens when you rely on feelings. But when you rely on discipline, there's no stop. There's no pause. There's no negotiation. Discipline becomes a way of life. It becomes who you are. And once it's who you are, you don't need to think about it. You just do it. Discipline is like armor. It protects you from the ups and downs of emotions. When motivation dips, discipline holds you steady. When inspiration fades, discipline keeps you moving. It's consistent, unshakable, unstoppable. And in the long run, it always wins. The most dangerous person is not the one who's motivated, it's the one who's disciplined. Because motivation can be broken, distracted, defeated. But discipline is relentless. It doesn't stop until the job is done. It doesn't bend to excuses. It doesn't bow to fear. It doesn't break under pressure. It simply moves forward day after day until the goal is achieved. And here's the beautiful truth: discipline doesn't just outlast motivation. It creates it. When you stay disciplined, when you keep showing up, results come, and results reignite motivation. So the cycle continues. Discipline fuels progress, progress fuels motivation, motivation fuels energy, and energy fuels more discipline. That's how greatness is built, not on fleeting sparks, but on consistent fire. So don't wait for motivation. Don't depend on it. Don't beg for it. Build discipline instead, because motivation will leave you. Discipline will stay with you. Motivation will lift you for a moment. Discipline will carry you for a lifetime. Discipline outlasts motivation, and that's why the disciplined will always stand on the podium when the motivated have already gone home. Pain is the price of discipline. You can't buy greatness with comfort. You can't reach the top while sitting easy. Every step forward costs something, and that cost is pain. Not just the pain in your muscles, not just the sweat dripping down your face. It's the pain of sacrifice, the pain of pushing past your limits, the pain of doing what you don't want to do when everything inside you screams to quit. Discipline comes with a price tag, and that tag is always paid in pain. But here's the truth. Pain isn't your enemy. Pain is your teacher. Pain is the proof that you're moving beyond what you thought was possible. Comfort is the killer of dreams. Pain is the builder of champions. If you avoid pain, you avoid growth. If you embrace pain, you embrace progress. And the more you face it, the stronger you get. Think about it like this: every rep that burns, every mile that feels endless, every sacrifice that stings, that's the payment you're making toward your future. That pain is not wasted, it's invested. It's the currency of discipline. The more you pay now, the richer you become later in strength, resilience, and success. Discipline means waking up when the world is still asleep. That's painful. Discipline means saying no to temptations that others indulge in. That's painful. Discipline means repeating the grind over and over when your body aches, when your mind is tired, when you'd rather give in. That's painful. But every one of those pains is proof that you're writing a story others can't even imagine living. The difference between the ordinary and the extraordinary is how they view pain. The ordinary run from it. They want easy, they want comfort, they want shortcuts. The extraordinary welcome it. They see pain as a signal that they're alive, that they're working, that they're progressing. They don't shy away from the struggle. They dive into it because they know pain is shaping them into something unbreakable. And here's the beauty of pain. It doesn't last, but its rewards do. The burn fades, the soreness disappears, the exhaustion lifts, but what remains is strength, character, and results. Pain passes, pride stays. That's why discipline always requires pain, because pain is the doorway to pride, to confidence, to victory. So when you feel the sting of discipline, don't run from it. Embrace it. Remind yourself that this is the price of greatness, and you're willing to pay it. Because every rep of pain makes you stronger. Every moment of sacrifice makes you sharper. Every test of endurance makes you tougher. And in the end, pain doesn't break you. It builds you. The truth is simple: comfort is cheap, but pain is priceless. The disciplined know this. They know that while pain hurts in the moment, it heals into power. It turns weakness into strength, doubt into confidence, limits into milestones. Pain is not punishment, it's preparation. And the more you accept it, the more you grow from it. So never run from pain. Pay the price, wear it proudly. Because pain is not the end, it's the beginning, it's the cost of discipline, and it's the key to greatness. Discipline creates consistency, and consistency creates greatness. That's the formula, simple and unshakable. Anybody can put in effort for a day. Anybody can train hard for a week. Anybody can stay focused for a month. But the ones who rise to the top, the ones who carve their names in history, are the ones who keep going day after day, year after year, long after the excitement is gone. And the only way to keep that fire alive is through discipline. Consistency is the bridge between goals and achievement. Without it, you're just starting over again and again. You can't build strength by training once. You can't master a craft by practicing occasionally. You can't build greatness by showing up only when you feel like it. Discipline makes you show up no matter what. It makes you lace up the shoes, step into the grind, and do the work even when you're tired, bored, or uninspired. That daily effort, stacked one brick at a time, becomes unshakable consistency. Consistency is powerful because it compounds. Do a little every day, and soon it becomes a lot. 10 push-ups a day turn into 100, then 1,000, then a body forged like steel. Reading for 15 minutes a day becomes knowledge, wisdom, mastery. Saving a little money each week becomes wealth. Small acts, repeated with discipline, create massive results over time. That's why discipline is the secret, because it fuels consistency, and consistency multiplies into greatness. Most people fail not because they lack talent, but because they lack consistency. They start strong, but they don't finish. They get excited, but they can't sustain it. They chase motivation, but they don't practice discipline. Consistency doesn't need excitement. It needs commitment. It's boring sometimes. It's repetitive. It feels slow, but that's where the magic is. Because while everyone else burns out, the consistent one keeps moving forward. And in the long run, slow and steady crushes fast and flashy. Discipline also keeps you steady when life gets chaotic. There will always be distractions, always be challenges, always be excuses. But if you've trained yourself in discipline, you don't break your consistency. You stay the course. You hold the line. You keep your promises to yourself. That's what separates the good from the great. Greatness isn't built in bursts of energy. It's built in years of discipline, driven consistency. Think of water dripping on a rock. One drop means nothing. 100 drops mean nothing. But thousands of drops over years, they carve through stone. That's consistency. That's what discipline gives you, the ability to keep dripping, keep pressing, keep pushing until nothing can resist you. And here's the best part. Consistency makes you unstoppable because it builds momentum. The more consistent you are, the easier it becomes. It turns effort into habit, habit into lifestyle, lifestyle into identity. You no longer need to force yourself. You've become the kind of person who simply doesn't quit. That's when discipline transforms you from ordinary into extraordinary. So if you want greatness, forget about flashes of talent or bursts of motivation. Focus on discipline. Build consistency. Let every day be a brick you lay toward your dream. Because when the wall is finished, when the tower is built, when the world looks at what you've achieved, they won't remember the single brick. They'll see the greatness consistency created. Discipline creates consistency, and consistency creates greatness. That's the truth. And the sooner you live it, the sooner you'll rise above the rest. Talent fades, but discipline grows stronger over time. That's one of the greatest truths about success, yet it's the one most people ignore. Talent is flashy. It grabs attention. It makes people clap and cheer in the beginning. But talent is like a flame. It burns hot at first, then slowly weakens if it's not fed. Discipline, on the other hand, is like iron. It may start small, but with every repetition, every struggle, every sacrifice, it hardens, strengthens, and becomes unbreakable. When you're young or just starting, talent can make things look easy. You pick up skills quickly. You stand out without much effort. But as the years pass, as the challenges get harder, as competition gets tougher, talent alone begins to fade. The ones who relied only on natural ability start falling behind because they never built the habits that sustain growth. They got comfortable. They believed their gift was enough. And when the pressure rose, they cracked. But those who relied on discipline only grew stronger, because discipline is a muscle. The more you use it, the tougher it gets. The more you practice self-control, the sharper your focus becomes. The more you show up, the more unstoppable you get. Discipline compounds like interest in a bank account. What starts as a small daily effort turns into massive power over time. Unlike talent, which fades if ignored, discipline rewards you more and more the longer you practice it. Think of an athlete who starts with natural speed but never trains seriously. By the time they're older, their speed has slowed, and without discipline, they can't keep up. Now think of another athlete who wasn't the fastest but trained relentlessly every single day. Years later, while the first athlete's talent has faded, the second athlete's discipline has built endurance, strength, and skill that last a lifetime. That's the difference. Talent is temporary. Discipline is permanent. Talent is given to you. Discipline is built by you. And what you build lasts longer than what you were given. That's why you can't rely on gifts. You must rely on grit. Because one day, your natural advantages will fade. Your body will tire, your reflexes will slow, your youthful spark will dim. But discipline, the habits you built, the strength you forged, the resilience you created, those will stay with you forever. Discipline also adapts with time. When challenges change, discipline changes with them. It teaches you patience, strategy, and endurance. It keeps you learning, improving, sharpening your skills even when your natural edge has dulled. Discipline ensures that you don't just survive with age. You thrive. That's why those who master discipline often outlast and outperform the most naturally gifted, especially in the long run. And here's the greatest gift of discipline. It doesn't just grow stronger over time, it makes you stronger. It doesn't fade like talent. It compounds into confidence, courage, and character. It transforms you into someone who doesn't depend on what they were born with, but thrives on what they've built. That's power. That's freedom. So never fall in love with talent alone. Respect it, use it, but don't trust it to carry you forever. Fall in love with discipline because discipline grows with you. Discipline doesn't fade. Discipline becomes your weapon, your shield, your foundation. Talent might win you applause today, but discipline will win you greatness for life. And when the lights dim, when the crowd forgets, when time takes away your natural gifts, discipline will still be standing beside you, stronger than ever. Discipline is the equalizer. It doesn't matter where you come from, how much talent you were born with, or how many opportunities you were given. Discipline has the power to level the playing field. It's the one weapon available to anyone willing to use it. You may not be the fastest, the strongest, or the smartest, but if you are the most disciplined, you can rise above those who seem untouchable. Life isn't fair. Some people are born gifted. Some people get lucky breaks. Some have advantages you'll never have. But that's where discipline steps in. Discipline doesn't care about talent. Discipline doesn't care about privilege. Discipline doesn't care about luck. Discipline says, if you're willing to outwork, outlast, and outfight, you can take what others thought was impossible. It's the great equalizer because it rewards effort, not excuses. Think about this. History is filled with people who weren't the most talented, but became legends because they were the most disciplined. They didn't wait for luck. They didn't cry about what they didn't have. They took what they did have and squeezed every ounce out of it through relentless discipline. That's how ordinary people do extraordinary things. Discipline strips away excuses. You can say, I don't have the genetics, I don't have the talent, I don't have the resources. But discipline answers back. You don't need them. You need to show up. Discipline says you don't have to be special, you just have to be consistent. And that truth is terrifying for the talented who rely only on their gifts because it means someone less gifted but more disciplined can pass them up. That's why discipline is feared. It can take someone with no advantage and put them ahead of someone with every advantage. The gifted rely on their talent, but if they don't train it, they lose. The disciplined rely on their grind, and every day they sharpen it, they grow stronger. Over time, discipline wins. Discipline also gives you control. You may not control the obstacles in your path, but you control how disciplined you are in facing them. You may not control your genetics, your environment, or your starting point, but you control how hard you work, how consistent you stay, and how many excuses you eliminate. And that control is freedom because it means nobody can stop you but you. The reason discipline is the equalizer is simple. Talent is given, but discipline is chosen. Anybody can choose it. Anybody can wake up early, push hard, or stay focused, keep grinding. It doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, young or old, gifted or average, you can choose discipline. And if you choose it long enough, you'll find yourself standing where the talented quit, where the lucky failed, where the privilege grew soft. Discipline doesn't promise you'll win instantly, but it promises you'll never lose to yourself. And if you refuse to lose to yourself, sooner or later, the world can't stop you either. So don't envy the talented. Don't wait for luck. Don't cry over what you weren't born with. Pick up discipline, sharpen it, live by it. Because discipline is the great equalizer, and in the end, it's the one thing that can turn an ordinary person into someone unforgettable.